I was thinking the other day how much we've got used to a certain type of living. Everything we do is fairly predictable. If we watch the television, we have the adverts or the commercials to tell us what our lifestyle should be. If we watch programs on the television, they sort of hint and try and mirror, or rather dictate, how our lives should play out, the things that we should do, the people that we should talk to, and all that sort of stuff. And in recent years, as you'll know, we've been going through this rather unusual situation in which everything has been revealed to us as the wrong way round, or at least certainly for me. And I'm hoping that many of those people who've been watching my programmes have started to get that sense that everything is not quite as it should be. So I'm now starting to turn my back on the conventional things, the commercial things, certainly as far as going with eating is concerned, no longer visiting the supermarkets, but looking for alternatives, and particularly organic, or as near to organic as one can possibly get. Grass-fed beef, for example, might have some cows that have a little bit of antibiotics in them, but they're not highly industrially fed as, say, the commercial ones that end up in the supermarkets or the fast food chains. And all of that is going into the human body and causing us harm and illness. And these days, it's difficult to know who to trust. These big, large conglomerates, these big organisations, they seem to be churning out products which at the end of the day don't seem to be doing us as any favours at all. And some people would even say that there are so many toxins in things, not only in the air, but in the water and in the food, but also in those household products. And perhaps we need to be looking at different things altogether and go back to some very simple, basic things. These days, you can't trust the newspapers or the media on the television or the news or any of those things. It's very difficult even on YouTube to know who it is you're listening to and how truthful or accurate or precise they are. So now we have to use a lot of critical thinking to work out actually what should I be listening to? Where should I be taking my advice from? That's not a bad thing. If we're taking back responsibility for ourselves, then clearly it starts with us rather than just relying on the BBC or the mainstream media, whomever it happens to be. In fact, I've now started to read this rather wonderful paper, The Uncensored Truth, from The Light. It's a fascinating paper with all sorts of stuff that you won't find in the mainstream papers because they're too scared to print the truth. Things like headlines like this, which if I read out is likely to give me a YouTube censorship strike, but you can read it for yourself. There are many more headlines like that in there that tells you what's going on in the world and what you might be concerned about. But the interesting bit that I wanted to get to was this double-page spread in this month's edition, which is about alternative home, natural home alternatives, it's called. So it takes those almost everyday household items for cleaning and cleaning ourselves and cleaning the house, detergents and what have you, that we've just taken for granted are perfectly safe and natural for us because they're easily accessible. We buy them from the supermarkets and the shops like that, and then we just get on and use them, and we've done it the same as our parents did it before us. But we don't really know what's in it, and we've almost lost the sense that actually we could have a home alternative that will do just as good and actually perhaps not leave our bodies in a worse state. I know that certain detergents, for example, has my skin very itchy and I'm constantly scratching if I buy the wrong thing. But that could go for a number of other of these things. And the interesting things is a lot of these things are produced by the same big conglomerates, the big pharma, that produce the medicines that have not always been as useful as you may think. So let's have a look at just some of these. I just thought I'd read a couple out just as a for instance, but I'd be most interested if you have your own alternatives to certain things, or whether you're looking at some of these big commercial products and shying away and looking to something else. So for example, soap. You know, normally we just buy soap, but soap, as talking to Clive de Carle, isn't quite what it may seem. And sometimes it is actually the produce of some stuff at the other end of the sewage that goes into some cheap soap. Now, I can't vouch for that, but that's just what I've been told. So as an alternative to these highly manufactured products, oil cleansing is an option for soap, and that involves pure oils rinsed away with a damp washcloth or indeed a brush. Bubble bath. You might be somebody who loves to relax, and the media is full of telling you which bubble baths to relax in. Well, instead of having those chemicals washing around your body, drying out the skin and causing all sorts of problems, what about the alternative here? So instead of using bubbles, try filling a muslin cloth with a selection of herbs and aromatic oils. Tie the muslin cloth to a bath tap and let the aroma spill out. And if you think about it, back in the old days before these large industrial things, this is what we were doing. And we were doing this for hundreds of thousands of years. Man was working out different ways to keep himself clean and refreshed, in using all sorts of stuff, natural stuff, all around him. Washing powder. Well, as I say, some biological washing powders cause me a lot of jiff. So instead of that, there's something here called soap nuts. Now, I'd never heard of soap nuts. Keep your laundry products as natural as possible with these little miracles that grow on trees in the Himalayas. And as the lovely Julia said to me, well, that's not local, is it? But it is natural, so presumably you can buy them in from somewhere. Soap nuts have been used for centuries in India and Nepal and are great for sensitive skin. Just put a handful, about 5 or 6 it says, into each wash and they can be reused multiple times. So there we go. How about that? And it says 1 kilogram bag should last for about 100 washes. I'm going to have to try and get some of these soap nuts and see how they work. So there's alternatives for all sorts of other products like conditioner, you know, for your hair. Not that that is something that worries me. Aloe vera gel apparently is good for that. Toothpaste. We know that they put fluoride into toothpaste with fluoride. They've even put sugar into toothpaste. And I think that's rather suspicious, seeing as we're told that sugar is the thing that rots the teeth. I've always been somewhat surprised by all of that. And of course, it makes sense that the companies want your teeth to deteriorate, so it keeps dentists in operation. Sometimes it does seem that all these things are somewhat conspiring against us rather than actually there to help us. But I'd be interested in your thoughts. If you've got other remedies, then do let me know. Apparently, here an alternative to the commercial toothpaste that we normally use, which contains fluoride and other bits and bobs, try mixing coconut oil together with bicarbonate of soda and black charcoal powder to form a paste. Now, black charcoal powder, you would imagine, would cause your teeth, instead of to be whiter than white, actually to be blacker than black. However, it says, why buy something with 0.02% black charcoal extract, which they put on the label to capitalize on in terms of wellness trends, when you can go straight to the main ingredient itself? So there we are. I've never thought about using that. And there's a whole load of other alternatives in this edition of the Light newspaper. Alternatives for nappies. When I was bringing up our children, we used terry nappies, which are effectively reusable cloth nappies. All right, it's a bit of a faff, but of course, if you're worried about landfill and all the chemicals that go in, which we were at the time, that's what worked very well. Baby cream. Popular baby creams might do the job, but they also contain unnatural ingredients and are highly fragranced. Olive oil and water would do just as good. Bathroom cleaner, there are many alternatives there. Whisk together 2 tablespoons of liquid Castile soap, 1 tablespoon of baking soda and 2 cups of warm water, and put it into a spray. There's hair gel alternatives, perfume alternatives, air freshener alternatives. I'm always worried when people put air freshener into the air. Now, I know you're trying to sort of disguise the odour, but what is in those air fresheners that you're breathing in, especially when you go into, say, pubs or commercial buildings, and these things automatically spray this very toxic, it seems to me, very cough-inducing spray. And if you get too close to it, can't imagine that's doing you a lot of good. So there's loads of different ideas for that in order to freshen up the smell, but actually be a bit more natural. Shampoo, of course, baby wipes and mouthwash, to name but a few. And there's plenty more in the Light newspaper, which is a people-funded paper and available at thelightpaper.co.uk. If you use different alternatives, I would love to find out about it. One of the alternatives that I'm slightly concerned about is what they're trying to bring in with these central bank digital currencies, and that is money. And of course we have fiat currency, which is a debt-based currency, but at least with fiat currency, at least with cash, and I'm trying to use alternative payments instead of the digital payments left, right and centre to keep cash going, is that it's a private thing, a private transaction between you and others. And now it seems that a friend of mine sent me a picture that he had taken where he'd used his card, his simple tap and go card, and he said, I can only use it 3 times. I don't know what's going on with the banks at the moment. So I'm trying to get out as much cash as I can so that I can keep my transactions private and alternative so that nobody else knows what I'm doing. And now I'm going to be looking at trying to get some alternative products that I might make and manufacture myself. Do you think this is too much of a fag, too much of a faff rather, too much effort to get through all of this? Or do you think it's a healthy option to do? Be interested in your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one.